So today I thought I'd run you through one of the experiments that I'm doing this year. What I'm trying to do is small kale plants overwintered for a prolific harvest in early spring, but also, a nice steady harvest all the way through winter. And in order to do that, I'm putting in young, super vigorous little plants, and those plants are a mix of dwarf green curly kale, reflex curly kale, sympathetic curly kale, and scarlet curly kale. There's 2 reds and there's 2 greens to give me a little bit of variety. So the bed that I'm putting them in was previously lettuce. It was the lettuce bed that got decimated by the caterpillars, and it looked such a mess when I got here this morning. But of course it cleans up quickly and easily. I'm not putting those lettuces in the compost though, because I don't want those moths overwintering in the compost bin and then getting turned into my beds in spring. I want them in the green bin. Anyway, bed nice and cleared, put down bloodfish and bone meal, which is kind of my favoured fertiliser for this time of year, because I don't want the kale plants putting in too much sort of leafy growth too quickly. I want it nice and slow release all the way through winter. Put down about 1 inch of my homemade compost. That homemade compost, it's a little bit woody because it's made from stable bedding, so it's horse manure and wood shavings, and it rots down pretty nicely, but there's still a bit of wood in it, so you wouldn't want to incorporate it into your soil. You don't want to use it as a mulch, which is fine because that's what I do. Spread it out with my hands and then get planting. So the rationale behind this bed is that I would normally plant my kales a bit earlier. So I would normally plant them last month, but because we've had this issue where we've come across the fact that one of our beds has got club root, and it's the collet bed, and the collet bed is kind of the mainstay of our winter brassica diet, and basically most of the bed is in just terrible condition, and those plants are not going to survive over winter. In fact, I'm going to take them out in October. I'll try and get a little bit of a harvest off them before then, but they're definitely coming out in October, and that bed will be replanted. I've got 4 plants left, which are huge and looking super healthy, but that won't be anywhere near enough to keep us going. So we need some extra kale plants in addition to the ones that we've already got scattered around the back garden and wherever. So I'm putting these plants in. I grew them under grow lights because I didn't have very much time to bring them on. So they're very leafy and quite squat, which is kind of a challenge actually, because you don't want the leaves touching the ground, but there's nothing that I can do about it. Anyway, planted them out, just dib holes. I've put them in at a very high density because they're going to be over winter, so they're not going to grow very big, and they're not going to grow very fast. So I want a lot of plants to be harvested, like 1 leaf off each plant each week, that kind of tempo. And so there is room in that bed for me, I think, to get some salad onions. Now, I've never tried that interplant before. I've tried putting things like turnips in and things like that, but the turnips, they overpower, they grow a bit faster than the kales at late in the year. So they kind of overpower them a little bit. So salad onions, I think, are much better because obviously they won't overpower anything. The danger will be that the kale plants will overpower the salad onions. But I mean, I've got loads of salad onions. I can afford to lose a tray of those. And it would be a nice bonus if we get them. So that is basically what I'm going to do. So they're under a net at the moment. I'm going to put them under one of my polythene low tunnels in early to mid-October. That will it'll accelerate the growth through October, but it'll also keep the growth going in winter, because a low tunnel can raise the temperature about 10 degrees centigrade during the day above the outside temperature, even when it's fairly well ventilated. And ventilation is really important in winter. So just assume a 10-degree rise in temperature, and that will double the growth rate. And a doubling of the growth rate makes a huge difference over winter. And you know, I notice this with everything that I grow, say with all of my spinaches and things like that. I'm able to harvest them every week all the way through winter, whereas a lot of people just stop harvesting them in winter, harvest them all through autumn, harvest them in spring, but leave them in winter. In my case, everything is harvested continuously all through winter because of the low tunnels. Anyway, hope you like this quick video. My name's Steve, this is the Seaside Kitchen Garden and Allotment channel, and I'll see you soon.